Today on the Star Trek Critic, Ethics, an excellent example of what a cerebral show should be, and we will find out just how many times they say "worf." However, there are still plenty of errors in this episode. One thing is these ladders just don't look right in a cargo bay of the future, and tricorders will have more buttons than screens like we have now. That will probably work out better on a strange, dirty planet. Geordi does the first Picard maneuver and admits he can see the cards in a poker game. The first point is lost since these barrels in the cargo bay are not secured. Anything could happen. The ship naturally lurches from time to time. Another point lost since these barrels have radioactive labels on them. They should all be in a special reinforced cargo bay, which means one more point lost since they are not wearing radioactive suits. 1 point lost since they are intentionally standing in the lights. Worf lands with his arms forward, but now they are at his side, so -1 point. Worf says "I love you," Beverly says "I know." 1 point lost since if you shattered 7 vertebrae, you should not be on your back the very next day. The captain's log doesn't mention heads are going to roll since radioactive barrels were unsecured. Another point lost since Dr. Russell arrived without a staff. Or maybe nobody wants to work with her. Did you notice these two touch each other's arms quite a bit? She then compliments Dr. Crusher on her work. Then it is mentioned the Klingon Empire has very little information on this type of injury. Beverly talks about how Worf is feeling. Dr. Russell says she needs to maintain a discreet distance because she considers patients nothing more than guinea pigs on her path to success and self-promotion. Only Dr. Crusher gets pockets. That's sexist. Riker does his maneuver, and Picard maneuver number 2 then wants to know, why is Hal in here? Worf wants to be an honorable Klingon and perform the Hek-Ba. Riker calls him the second baseman. Another point must be taken here. I am fully aware that we have all had friends and family members who get life-threatening injuries through car accidents or cancer. But so many times they don't translate well when it comes to a recurring character on a TV show. It looks too intentional. This was even done on the Brady Bunch. Riker does Picard maneuver number 3. Back in the science lab, they discuss all the redundancies in Klingon anatomy. This could be another reason Klingon medicine has decided to let a Klingon die. Besides being honorable, they probably concluded that if all these redundancies don't work, the patient is naturally beyond hope. Russell shows off her 3D printer. Even 400 years in the future, it will still be close to impossible to recreate a spine with a 3D printer. Dr. Russell admits she wants her first time to be with a Klingon. How often do you hear doctors talk about their first time? The holographic tests still have poor results. Starfleet Medical would never approve. Their medical insurance is textbook universal health care, which won't spend a dime on something that hasn't been tested over and over again. Beverly says those results are worse than the narrator using an AI voice, since a failure will haunt them forever. In a nutshell, the replication process is still too risky, and Beverly says no, but you see in Dr. Russell's face, she is not going to give up. That was 10 Worfs. It's time for a drink. 1 point lost for a single set of doors on the turbolift. 1 point lost for calling Beverly all the way up to the bridge when they could have told her through the computer. Will does Riker number 2 and Picard number 4. Data says I number 1. Look close. That is not Livingston the lionfish. He had a day off. This is Picard maneuver number 5. So it's time for a drink. This is one of those excellent times when Star Trek delivers. Ethical dilemmas like this happen all the time. Of course, Worf may be a Klingon, but he is not a member of the Klingon Empire. His parents did mention Worf had to follow his own path. However, Picard is acting a bit like a douche right now. Everyone in Starfleet has the job description to prevent suicides. In the United States alone, 22 veterans a day commit suicide, which is a crisis situation. Picard may respect Worf's beliefs, but he should consider alternatives, since when Starfleet Command hears Worf committed suicide because unsecured radioactive containers shattered his spine, Picard will lose his command, so -1 point for Picard, saying he can't help Riker with his decision. Picard maneuver number 6. This is one of the rare times Deanna is actually seen doing her job. She has to counsel poor Alexander and Worf at the same time. I will take a point since we never see Riker talking to Deanna about his dilemma, but it may have been cut for some reason. 1 point is lost since single parents must have a family care plan in case something like this happens. Who is watching Alexander? And shout out to Deanna for telling off Worf, but 1 point lost for wearing the catsuit for ratings. Now Worf meets Dr. Russell, who shows him something that looks like an ankle monitor. But Worf is right. All that work for just 60% of his mobility doesn't sound like it's worth the effort, especially if you need all these implants. And will they ever get him a bed where the back rises? Dr. Russell gives Worf an option, and Beverly is pissed. She should pull Dr. Russell off Worf's case right now. Starfleet Medical keeps turning her down, and she has a lack of interest in the medical bureaucracy that funds her work. What Worf should have done was simply sit up straight in his bed. And 1 point lost, since there is no way someone with a spinal injury will be able to stand like that just a few days after his accident. Was the Denver named after a city, or this explorer, or this singer? This is a cargo bay, not a shuttle bay, so -1 point. Here is where you learn how horrible a person Dr. Russell really is. Dr. Russell says his injuries were so severe she doesn't think, not good at all. A patient with low blood pressure couldn't take one medicine, so instead of trying another approved medication, gave him an experimental drug that killed him, and all she is concerned about are her test results. And Beverly has the best answer to her hypothetical question. You're fired. Is this the first time Picard has checked in on Worf? Beverly quotes Lumiere. Now he quotes Michael Scott.
A week, month, a year.
Picard's about to get the ass whooping of a lifetime. Dr. Russell just killed a man, and this surgery kills holographic patients. Picard is trying to prevent a suicide, but an unproven surgery that could kill him. This decision could cost him his command, and Starfleet Medical would never approve. This is the 20th time they say Worf, so it's time for another drink. Riker comes in with the blade and the robe. Worf is thinking, well shit, now I'll really have to go through with this. I didn't think Riker had the balls to come back. 1 point lost. Beverly just said there was no way this would happen in her sickbay. Riker is thinking, damn, this is a really cheap prop chair. And isn't that the laser from Tron? This is another great Trek speech. Riker really rips Worf to shreds, reminding him of all their friends they lost. And then he looked up the fine print, and the only one on the ship to help with the ritual is Alexander. Worf says, he's just a little boy. Riker counters,
the son of a Klingon is a man the day he can first hold a blade.
Then leaves, and Worf is thinking, wow, what a relief. I thought I was going to have to go through with it. So Worf lets Alexander know he is going to go through with the surgery. 1 point lost. Starfleet Medical would never approve. However, they might have been able to do it in a Klingon hospital. Alexander says he is good at school. Then Worf asks if Deanna will take care of him. His parents are too old. He doesn't want him to be raised in the Klingon Catholic school or be raised by the hippie family on Earth. Deanna is thinking, yay, I can be a mom without giving birth. Now for the surgery scene.
Benson bomb scissors. Benson bomb scissors. Get that cat out of here.
Dr. Russell gets her cheer calls backwards. Not a good start.
Ready? Okay.
Beverly said, there is no way I'm wearing this red suit unless I have matching lipstick. Then Nurse Ogawa and Dr. Russell both said they wanted matching lipstick too. Why do they wear surgical gloves but not masks? Probably to show off their matching lipstick, so -1 point. 1 point lost for not covering Worf's hair. 1 point lost for removing the entire spine. That will kill him. A Vectal response is Klingon technobabble. This type of surgery won't work until the scanner can get the spine without taking it out. -1 point for removing the entire spinal cord. If that doesn't reattach, he will be paralyzed for life. The painting in the background is from Andrew Probert and is of spaceships flying through a brain. I wish I could have that on my wall. 1 point lost since that is a prosthetic neck. And Worf sadly dies. I'm surprised he didn't die earlier in the surgery. Poor Alexander, he didn't yell like a Klingon, but Worf is coming back to life. And -1 point for magically coming back to life. That's as unbelievable as a school teacher turned president dying of terminal breast cancer, magically saved by the blood of an unborn baby who is half human and half machine. This next scene is very important. Dr. Russell wants to celebrate. Of course, the whole thing might go bad in a few months. We don't know yet. Beverly gives her a good dressing down on what a horrible doctor she really is. What's worse is Beverly can't have her relieved of duty permanently since she joined in on the surgery and is now an accomplice to a doctor that just killed another patient from the Denver. Shout out to Gates McFadden. Trek doesn't have many shows that cover medicine, and she aced it. This scene probably takes place several weeks later, since even 400 years in the future, a spinal injury will take forever to heal. But this is a great bonding scene between Worf and Alexander. And Alexander now has his father's spine in a jar to take to show and tell at school. So how many ethical dilemmas were in this show? Geordi spying during poker games, unsecured radioactive containers, Worf contemplating the Klingon ritual of suicide, Riker being asked to assist in a ritual suicide, the entire genetronic replication process, Picard counseling Riker on what choices to make, testing new cures on real patients without permission, Picard pushing Beverly to go through with the process to prevent a suicide, Worf choosing to go through with the surgery which might kill him, performing a medical procedure that Starfleet would not approve of. All that packed into a 48-minute episode. This is Trek writing at its best. Yes! Brian Bonsall will be back 5 more times. The late Patty Yasutake will be back 10 more times. Caroline Kava was Dr. Russell. She has 40 screen credits including Quantum Leap and The X-Files, and is also a teacher at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Ethics, one of the great cerebral Trek shows that makes you think about everything. Gets a score of 76%, and since that was 24 points and 24 worths, let's celebrate with a final drink. Be sure to leave comments below. Click that like button, the share button, and that subscribe button, and come back next week for The Outcast.